¿Cómo está, papi? ¿Por qué?
Racist. That is
Nice.
racist.
Racism.
You're gonna get us canceled, man. ¿Cómo está? ¿Qué estás haciendo?
No, papi, no. I
That
feel like that's the
means
only response that I can ever come up with whenever you say that. Because I don't know really what it means. And I feel like that's just a good
I've
warranted
told you what
response.
this means so many times.
I know, and I forget.
You know what ¿cómo estás? You know ¿cómo estás? You know what that means, right?
Uh-uh.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
I do. Yes, I do. I'm
Okay.
just kidding.
We got Spanish speaker over here. Now listen, I dated a Latina for 2 whole years, and if there's any way to force feed your culture or get culture force feeded
Force
to you,
feeded. Wow, that's some
force fed,
force feeded.
like as if Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing it, just force feeding it down your throat. That's one way to do it. I don't suggest it. A lot of trauma.
I think out of all the
But
Star Wars characters, I would have chose Darth Vader because he's the one that does the Force choke. That would have made more sense. I think he
choking
reached on
would keep it from happening.
No, what I'm saying is for any character that would do something along those lines, if Vader
I
would
don't know why
choke,
you're doing this
he
to
would
me.
be able to force shove. I'm just calling out technicality, and I won't stand for that. You know?
Well,
Should we end this
neither will I.
episode already?
Yeah, this is done. This was a dud.
All
But
right. Well, thank you guys for joining episode 24 of Thoughtify
is this
podcast.
24?
This is 24. Crazy.
24 peeps.
Yeah.
But in terms of Spanish, that is where I learned my Spanish. And I really, for as long as I dated her and as committed as I was to learning Spanish, I learned very little. So
I'd say you learned a lot.
no, I mean, I know more than your average bear because bears can't even speak. But when it comes to holding, we'll get to that in a second. But when it comes to holding a conversation, I can go very limited. But I could probably get around Mexico. But that would actually make my ex-girlfriend upset because she was from Argentina, and people in Argentina definitely have a we're better than people from Mexico complex. And I'm not trying to start any wars here. I'm just saying what I observed. But
that's fair.
Feel free to fight over it. Either way, ¿qué estás haciendo means what are you doing? Okay, what?
Nada
Estás.
papi. Nada papi. Nothing, daddy.
Well, please stop calling me daddy. But
that's an inside joke that Keegan and I have probably shared for a good few years.
Calling each other daddy?
Yeah. No, papi, no.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
He'll get there. He'll admit it.
No, I won't.
Dude, speaking of
admitting stuff.
I
knew what you were about to do with that.
What?
What are you about to talk about? JFK files?
No, I was about to talk about something else.
What?
The whole thing that Trump did with sending all of the gang members from TDA and MS-13 down to the El Salvadorian prison. That was pretty intense because I believe the way that whole thing was going to play out, once ICE captured them, we were going to send them back to their respective home countries. But I think the Trump administration was like, nah, we have a better idea. So they rounded all
this out.
Yeah. So we took them all, sent them down to, what is the prison called? Do you remember off the top of your head?
No,
it's one of the most like crazy intense prisons for gang members that you could ever go to as a gang member. Like you are put in a giant open room of a cell that has multiple bunk beds stacked like 10 deep, 5 bunk beds high, something like that. And you're literally in a giant open cell with a ton of other gang members, like 40 to 50 to a cell. So it's kind of pretty much whatever goes. You are literally stripped down to the most bare bone essentials that you need to live and get by. You are fed, I think, rice and beans and a tortilla like once or maybe twice a day. And I think
they also give them an egg.
Yeah. And then maybe, I don't even know if they have rec time.
No, I remember when this happened, when El Salvador did this, it was very quick. You know, well, actually, they'd been building the prisons for a while, so
Yeah.
they got them done and they filled those things quick. But in regards to the way the prison operates, it essentially, from what I could see and what I've seen about it, is it essentially operates very similar to how a supermax prison operates. And I don't know this for a fact, but at, I do know at higher security prisons, whenever you're transferred, you're put in a position to where being able to get out of your chains or get out of something is not only impossible, but you're already uncomfortable as it is. And when they transfer those people, they have their hands cuffs behind their back, lifted high up in the air, a towel over their head. They're
Yep.
transporting them as if they just kidnapped them. And they go to the nth degree on a consistent basis to keep these people from having anything outside of their pattern that could even give them the idea that they have control over their day. It's because in prisons with populations, dude, during the day the cells are open.
Yeah.
I went to jail for a week, and when I was in jail, I was in I was in city jail. I wasn't in
County.
no county jail and city jail are the same thing. But in terms of prisons where you go to serve time. Jail is where you're held until your court date or something of the sort, and then you get sentenced either prison or whatever it might be. But the one thing that was the same is that we didn't have cells in that one. We had bunks, very similar to the way they have in that El Salvador prison, those massive rooms with bunks. But even there, we had the ability to just pretty much hang out all day. Obviously, we just couldn't leave that place. When the guards came in, you had to be, it was essentially kind of like the military. You had to be by your bed. And those people, man, they don't even have the opportunity to fight.
Yeah.
Like if they do something out of line, that's a super max prison. Like you said, they give them literally the bare essentials, the bare necessities, the
The
simple bare
simple bare
necessities.
necessities. Forget
Don't forget
about your
about your
worries in
worries
your
and
life.
your care.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, ADHD. But yeah, I say all that to say that I went to jail in supermax prison. Sounds like it sucks.
Yeah. And what's crazy, the dudes that get sent to this specific prison, like, there's literally no hope for them. They are, if I'm not mistaken, they are in there for life. Because it's for the worst of the worst, gang wise.
But here's the thing. When you say the worst of the worst, there has to be a line drawn in terms of like, let's say like income for your taxes. You can make $999,000 a year, and the minute the dollar goes over that, you're in a whole new tax bracket. So there is like this like black and white line where there's some people in there that just accidentally were part of the worst, bad situation. And gosh dang, did they find themselves born in the wrong era.
Yeah,
Because
man. And involved in the wrong thing at the wrong time. I was
like
watching.
crypto, that's where
Yeah,
Hawk Tua should go. She should be sent there.
there you go. I will say I do have a little bit of good experience in crypto. I hit it right, but I sold too
Thought you were gonna
early
say in jail.
and it kept going up. Yeah, nope, never been to jail. Did you know that? I've never been to jail.
Yeah, I knew that.
I don't know. Remember that one time in jail?
What would you, I've known you since you were 8 years old.
I'm
There's
joking.
not
I've never been to
one
jail.
I know you're joking. I didn't know if you were like being like, yeah,
Serious,
I could
man?
have
You
gone
don't
to
remember
jail.
that? Come on.
Well, not remember it, but in terms of like, yeah, dude, I could have not told you. I'd be like, dude, there's no way
Yeah.
on God's green earth that I wouldn't have known if you went to jail.
You totally visited me that one time, remember?
We had a conjugal visit.
It was crazy. Jeez. All right, we're digressing on that one aggressively. Um, yeah, but all that to say about last little
Woo,
segment on
JFK,
that.
right?
No, not even there yet. Not even there yet. Jeez. Oh my. Wow, I lost my
Woo!
train of thought big time after
Are
that.
you blushing?
Jeez, stop it.
Stop it.
But what I was gonna say, the gang members that we sent down there recently, Trump, to make it happen, only paid the president $6 million for a year of services in sending these dudes down there. So I'd say tax dollars at work, getting rid of gangs, violent gangs from our country, rather than sending them back to their home countries where they would probably do the same thing. It's a smart move, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think utilizing those resources is a good idea. I just wonder how many it was, because $6 million. I'm like, geez, what, we sent 3 of them? I hope not.
No, I wonder. I don't know how many exactly, but watching the video that they released, I mean, they had planefuls of them. I don't know how many planes, but I mean, multiple buses that they, once they landed, put these guys on to take them to the prison.
Mm,
So,
not a fun bus ride. Not like the bus ride when you were in elementary school and you're going on a field trip that your
no.
parents had to sign for. It's not like that bus ride.
I
You
don't
know
want
how
to go to
often
the zoo. I don't want to.
I don't want to see the giraffes.
You're
You
telling me
know,
there's no dragon at the zoo. What are you talking about?
there's got to be a dragon. But we digress.
We do that a lot on this podcast. If you're new, welcome. This is our podcast, and this is what we do.
Thoughtify, a podcast about anything and everything.
And digressing.
And digressing. We digress a lot.
But yeah, man, kind of going to the main point of
I forgot what I was going to say.
That's good. We don't want to talk about that anyway. Kidding.
I'm kidding. My mom's calling. I gotta
go. But the main theme, I think, for this episode, very fitting that we recorded today. The JFK files were officially released. 80,000. Yeah. It's finally here. But 80,000 documents. 80,000 documents were released today. And I'm like, who would remotely have the time, for one, to go through all those and to just be a fly on the wall? Because there's like just a squad of individuals that are just taking no breaks, going through everything, using AI to analyze it, get summary data from it all.
No one went through it. Someone used really powerful AI that they can trust because they programmed the AI. Because that's the thing. There's one of the big things Elon Musk is up in arms about is it's not open source. Yeah. It's not what he was originally part of AI, and I think he has a lawsuit against him for it not being open source.
Yep.
And there are people behind the scenes of what you see in day-to-day life called the scenes that do have access to open source AI that is not guarded by anything. It has no guardrails on it outside of maybe the parameters of making searches or prompts more specific. But all you had to do was say, hey, to upload 80,000 documents with really, really, really powerful fiber optic internet, and bro, you had that thing broken down. Not only broken down, but key points analyzed in a way that would produce a conclusion or an indication that would have taken someone else probably about, if we're being conservative, I don't think there's a person that could go through 80,000 pages in under 6 months.
No, not at all. I mean, especially to the depth. And something
not only go through them, but make connections, and just be like, oh, I remember that from page 27,343.
Yeah.
So.
That was 23,342, actually.
Exactly. And that is my point.
But some of and it's interesting from what's been gathered so far, general bullet points.
The ballistics.
Really no, I mean, not that specifically, but JFK referenced Joe Biden back then as a traitor. I find that really interesting.
That is insane that Joe Biden was in government while JFK got assassinated.
He's been in government I think over close to 60 some years, if not a little over.
That is the definition of a company man.
Oh yeah.
Like drinking the Kool-Aid for so long it tastes like water.
Yep. Let me see. Well, this is interesting. See, and this is where I start to question. So, Joe Biden was in the United States Senate from 1973 until 2009.
Okay.
So,
It wasn't.
JFK getting assassinated.
Oh, so you're saying that you think you might have read some misinformation.
I wonder because the times, yeah,
Don't make
nine-
sense.
1963.
Isn't that crazy how like in real time we can see how I mean maybe it's not. I mean maybe there's some connect maybe you misread it or maybe it was making a different connection or he called someone maybe he even knew him as a younger person. He was like this guy's a traitor. I met this 12-year-old and he literally hates our country.
Yeah.
But there might be a different connection that you were missing. But if it was fake, it's crazy how the reason conspiracies can exist is because there's so much pushed down to us that's on such a consistent basis that sorting through what is absolutely true and what's not and not subjective or opinion based or pushed at you with a certain agenda
Yeah.
it takes more effort than it ever has in all of human history.
Yeah.
On a scale that's like, you know, how quickly AI has advanced, like on that scale, or how our income has not gone up, but housing prices have done this. Like in the 1950s, it was like right here, and then it just goes like this, and then this.
Exponentially. Yep.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I live
It,
right next to the dog park. I want to tell everyone I got bit by a dog. I got bit by a dog the other day, but
was this part of the
mom,
JFK files that got
it
released too?
was.
Or-
Mama didn't raise no bee. I'm not going to curse on the podcast, but I was walking out of my apartment to go on a run because I do that. I run. I ran a half marathon in case anyone wants to know about it.
In case you
And
didn't hear it on the last episode.
yes, put my hand on the gate. Dog jumped up, bit my hand. Wasn't bleeding, so I was like, you know what? It's 6:30 in the morning. I do not have time to get into a squabble. I was like, I'm just gonna go the other way. But long
Yeah.
story short, I got bit by a dog, and I hope you guys are. I hope there is a movement started behind this podcast to bring that person and his dog to justice.
You should, next time you see that person, be like, you should listen to this episode. It's a good podcast.
It's a hot potty.
It's a hot potty. But a couple other things. Yeah, I would kind of discredit that JFK calling Joe Biden a traitor. That one's a little far fetched in my opinion. But the meat and potatoes of what we've all been thinking, at least most of us,
I
that the
had meat and potatoes the
CIA,
other night.
nice, it's a good meal, that the
It's a
CIA
great meal.
orchestrated the entire assassination.
So pretty much what everyone's
Everyone
been
thought,
saying since it happened.
yes. And there were
The
interesting,
magic bullet didn't happen. Are you saying a bullet didn't fire into a car, hit one person, bounce off of this, hit this person, then hit someone in the head?
or if it was wanted, you could curve the bullet too when you shoot.
But I'm just asking, you're saying that didn't happen. You're saying the magic bullet
Correct.
isn't real.
Correct. That
Isn't that
technology
crazy?
does
Isn't
not
that crazy?
exist.
Think of being the people who actually know what happened and
Yeah.
watching people come out with the magic bullet and showing on screen something that is physically impossible based on how much a bullet would slow down after going through or hitting certain items and not having the likelihood to bounce that direction off of any other item,
Yep.
and just putting that on TV as a solution. It's literally like the most realistic definition of pissing on someone's leg and looking them in the eye and going, "It's raining."
Yep.
That's not me peeing on your leg. It's actually raining. And you're
Yep.
like, even though I see this happening and I see that's physically impossible, I
I'll
guess
believe it.
guess we had some bad weather today.
It is pretty crazy. I mean, and it begs the question too, if the government went to this extent What else are they lying to us
Dude,
about?
bro, I
What?
don't think there's anything outside of some things that are that's not even I can't even say that. I was gonna say things that are directly observable. And even then, there's gonna be so many stories spun on it to make people believe something completely different happened. But I think mostly everything that comes out from the US government has a, even if it's not defaming or taking away from the truth, it's a catered version of the way that they want it presented. And
Oh, for
they
sure.
is anyone that anything has to deal with. So if it's a nonprofit issue, if it's a defense issue, if it's, if it's anything that, whatever it's related to, it's
Yeah.
catered towards the way that they, just like as a company, you know, I just got a promotion, but I'm not just going to say I just got a promotion. I'm going to say, after working 3 years in my position and getting accelerated faster than other people on my team, I got a promotion that's going to put me in the spotlight. Like, I'm going to beef it up or beef it down or make sure that the people who are reading the mundane thing that happened have a certain opinion about it whenever they get done reading it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what, I mean, I think with 100% of everything the US government does to us, because this country has become a fat cow or a fat pig or fat cow that's just being eventually going to be led to the slaughter, but is just being fed it's just getting fatter and fatter and fatter, and everyone's coming to the feast and trying to take what they can. And we have not put in the right structures to allow us to weather the
Well,
storm.
I think we had the right structures. It was just a
We
matter of
had,
slowly but surely. I know that's what I'm saying. Like general structure, but is slowly but surely we had people of corrupt intention and power hungry that slowly took over bit
no,
by
you're
bit,
wrong.
year by
You're
year.
wrong. We just
I
had
am.
people.
We just had, oh, I'm sorry, just people. You're right. But not really because people of power and getting
No,
corrupted.
but I'm not saying you're actually wrong. I'm just saying that
I know,
when
I'm
you say
joking.
corrupt people, I'm just saying that, it's just the human condition to be corrupted by
Exactly.
power. And it's
Right.
just
Power
like,
and money.
yeah, and it's just you could, even the most altruistic people get into those positions, because it's one of the crazy things is being able to or trying to judge people in those positions, because you're like, that's crazy. I would never do that. Like the CEO of a healthcare company, or not a healthcare, an insurance company, or whatever it might be, someone that you despise and think that they're the antithesis of good. You don't
Yeah.
know what it's like to be in their position. You don't know what it's like to say yes or no to millions of dollars and be like, for like in terms of shorting the market whenever the housing crisis happened. Those people knew as soon as they put that in, there were going to be millions of people that suffered horribly and that went through the worst times in their lives. People that died because they didn't have the money to pay for certain medical care after losing that much money in their home. Like everything on the entire board. But because they were separated from the actual visibility of it, like I'm not like, do I believe in my heart of hearts that I wouldn't do that? Yes, but have I ever been offered millions of dollars to do anything? No. So, I mean, I think it's unfair to also judge, but at the same time, we do know what's right and what's wrong.
Oh, absolutely. But then also thinking of the opposite side where, you go in with good intention and individuals or, packs or companies come in and offer you money, of course, to buy your vote. But then also thinking of the side, like, even if you said no, what would they do to your career as a whole? They would torpedo it so quick because you would try to resist. And I think just with all of the stuff that's been happening for so many years, I mean, the fraud in general, the amount of waste, the amount of money that is going to who knows what, that finally with Doge, the government and all of its departments are finally being held accountable. And you're seeing literally the ugly snake rear its head and it's starting and wanting to strike. I mean, with Elon coming out to say like the amount of individuals that are calling for his assassination, and looking at the Joe Rogan episode, Elon was legitimately afraid to talk about in-depth detail about things that they are uncovering because it's a crazy perspective. Like, he's uncovering corruption and fraud, but you can only go at a certain pace. Because if you
Yeah,
go too fast and you rip that band-aid off, you might uncover something massive and have a really, really negative result for an individual.
I might buy a motorcycle soon, but on this topic,
That was
I was
random.
literally, I was, well, I mean, I heard a motorcycle outside the window. I heard it, and I was thinking about that heavily today. I was thinking so heavily about buying a motorcycle. But on this specific topic, I do have somewhat of a newly formed opinion, and it's not something that I don't know all the details. So let me just present it and then also present the potential counter arguments. But I do think that there might be some overstepping going on with these budget cuts
Could
because,
be.
and I think that it might be being done in a way that's not responsible because my little sister Sophie had a guaranteed internship with the DEA that is now completely off the table because the funding has been cut. She also she also does a work study, which is where she gets paid to work, obviously while she's studying in the topic on campus. She said like 90% of the grants that she was paid from were cut completely. And I think that that's now it could be, I don't know if they got funding cut so the college went and cut other things. That could be what is going on. I have no idea. But there are some things being cut from the budget that is seeming unnecessary and really upsetting people. And I get that, but there's no reason to call for someone's assassination ever. And there's no reason to. I think people that light Tesla cars on fire are about as dumb and the most likely subjects to natural to Darwinianism, survival of the fittest. If you are that mentally weak that you think that hurting another person who also has very similar struggles and is more like you in every way than most people in this world, or destroying property as a way to get your message across, you're as dumb as the guy who killed a healthcare CEO. Like
Yep.
you are just not if that's how you manifest doing the right, if that's how you manifest making your point heard, then you are part of the problem.
Oh, 100%. And that's, I don't know, man. It's such a twisted time. Not like we're unique by any means of anything that's previously happened in history, but I mean, just think like the general intention of Doge is to cut waste, right?
Which if you were to
So
ask anyone that outside of this
correct,
situation, they go,
and that
no, that's a really good idea. And
and
you'd be like,
that's my entire point. I mean, Obama actually put forth that, or a concept of that, under his presidency,
part
and
of
back then
everyone's running speech.
everyone was like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
We're
But
going
it's
to
just all
cut
depending.
government spending.
Yeah, it just all depends on who's actually presenting it. And that's what's really unfortunate. The idea of just natural, normal debate, actually having conversations about disagreeing or disagreements or different perspectives, it doesn't seem like it's a thing anymore. The aisle between both sides has just increased and increased and increased.
Yeah, it has.
It's unfortunate.
Well, it's really come down to, and here's the thing, I don't like, listen, I feel one way about things like abortion. I think it's wrong. But I don't hate someone that thinks otherwise. Do I
Correct.
adamantly disagree with you? Yes. But I've been friends with people for a long time that I didn't know disagreed with me on stuff. And I wouldn't give up those friendships over the disagreements we have. I've had people give up friendships with me. And there are certain, and actually no, I can't, I was going to say there are certain people I was going to say that I might have, but no, I really, in terms of the way that people have treated me, is the only reason I've ever given up on a relationship. So if someone has looked at me and said, because of what you believe, you are X, Y, and Z, even though they know me or they're not willing to get to know me to allow that, then I would cut that. I wouldn't reach out to that person because there's no use for
Right.
me to. But in terms of ever looking at someone and just going, hey, because you believe this, I can't I can't like you. I can't even be around you as a problem. I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's the
It
antithesis of any solution ever about anything. If you are going to stoop down to the level of labeling and not, because here's the thing, no one is a villain in their own story. Everyone is the hero of their own story. So there's not a person that doesn't believe they're doing quote unquote the right thing, whoever ends up being right at the end of the day. And it's just like, if you can't see that and just at least assimilate with it and say we have that in common, that we're at least passionate about trying to be right and find other things to bond over, you are again part of the freaking problem.
Man, and it goes back to an
Cheers.
identity. It goes back to an identity thing. So many people put or are looking to put their identity or find their significance in temporary fleeting things, whether that's politics, whether that's transgenderism, whether that's your sexuality, whether that's your job. It doesn't matter what it is. They're looking for significance through something of that nature. And unfortunately, whenever that nature is challenged, that's where the rift, you know, it just happens.
Well,
When,
when your identity is challenged, like you said,
well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, when that's challenged in everything that you hinge your entire personhood on, I mean, it's crazy that the shift in just the last 5 to 10 years with all of that. I mean, it's truly astounding. And
your
I
dad
mean,
talks about that a lot.
yeah,
Identity. But I mean, he's had something figured out for a long time that we've just been hearing, and we're just like, yeah, 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 cool, 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 cool. Identity. But it's literally, like we've talked about before, the filter that every decision passes through. Identity. And there's a reason that people, you know, so how many stories did you hear about anyone that's influential or famous going through like having to find themselves
yeah.
or doing something crazy to go find yourself? That's saying, what is my identity? Who am I? What do my choices look like? What's my character? What is Keegan? What is
Who
this
is Keegan?
amalgamation of emotions? Who is Keegan? And yeah, identity is again that the filter that is all defined through, or that defines your actions, words, and thoughts. And it's regardless. Hey, we're both Christian men. Believe our identity comes from God, from Jesus dying for our sins. Praise God.
Amen.
But even if you're not a Christian, being able to define who you are and how you react to things and the filter that you make decisions through is either the maker or breaker of being able to be a sane person.
Yeah.
I've struggled with identity so much.
Well, and that's the realistic thing. Like any human does at some point in time. I think, not everyone necessarily, but the majority of humans go through some sort of phase of like, okay, you have to figure it out. You know, that's not unique to one person or the other. Everyone, I think, in some semblance goes through that. It's just a matter
Yep.
of what you ultimately come to as a result and what you
Yep.
choose to then put your identity in. I mean, your work
And
doesn't
also
define you and all
choosing
that stuff.
choosing something and sticking with it. Because my gosh,
That's
how
the
many
big
people
thing.
that we know that when you say you oh, this person's so different, it's because their identity, the way that they filter everything that comes through their mind and comes out as a manifestation of whatever's going on, has changed. And when that filter changes, whether it's subtle or whether it's obvious, people will always be able to tell because it's just a accumulation of data that's being pushed to you, and eventually you add it up and you're like, this isn't the same
Yeah.
person I knew.
Well, and it's the aspect too, kind of onto that note, to where you have a set of formulated opinions and beliefs. But, and we can kind of relate it to, like we've talked on previous episodes, like look at the political landscape. Trump being in office, all of the things that he's doing. Look at the major tech companies coming out being like, yeah, free speech is good now.
Right.
We're going to open it up. And then who knows, whoever the next president is, or looking at the previous president. Everything was so bogged down, they just pivot based upon whoever's in office. It's the teeter-totter. There's no set direction that these companies go in. They change like chameleons. And I think in some aspects regarding identity too, that people have their formulated thoughts and opinions, but at times, especially in today's climate, call it due to politics or whatever you want to attribute it to, but they're less willing to stick to those formulated thoughts, beliefs, opinions because they're afraid of not going with the crowd. They don't want to be looked at as different. They don't want to be looked down upon. They don't want to be shamed, segregated from society, kind of be put over here in the distance. So I feel like there's a lot of individuals out there, because they don't have their identity per se set in something concrete, that they're more willing to be swayed by the wind and the waves of whatever is going on in today's time.
I don't think your feeling is misled. I think your feeling is exactly right. And people observe that all the time because it's fair weathered friends. People
Yeah.
who are around for the good times, not around for the bad times. Fair weathered,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it. When things are going in a way that benefits them, they assimilate. And hey, it's a natural survival tactic that
Yeah.
everyone uses. You use it, I use it. It's just in terms of where we use it is probably the differentiator in terms of concrete things that define you as a person. If that can be shifting all the time, that's not a good thing. And then, more, hey, listen, if I'm at a business meeting, guess what? I'm probably going to seem more corporate.
Yeah.
If I'm at the bar with a couple friends, I'm probably not going to be seeming as corporate as I was in a business meeting. We all do it.
Yeah. It's just what level do you do it to? And it reminds
Yeah.
me too, man, like,
Or where you do it in your personality.
yeah. And I mean, you made a good point too, just with the friends aspect. There are individuals out there that'll stick with you during the great times, be like, heck yeah, man, this is awesome. Life is good. But what happens when life doesn't go so well? You find out obviously who your true friends are, who the real people are in your life when those instances hit. And it reminds me of, I was watching on Amazon Prime that new House of David show we briefly talked about King David. Um, just when he was anointed king, as a little shepherd boy, teenager basically, and then he went um, and played music in the house of Saul, as Saul was basically, God said, "Hey, you're not anointed anymore. I have a new king." And as Saul was being tormented by these spirits, David would go in and play, and David's music would soothe Saul. But then it got to a point, where they eventually go fight the Philistines, and Goliath comes and David slays the giant. Um, there's this natural transition that happens to where Saul finds out that David is his replacement. And Saul does not like that because he's fighting tooth and nail to keep his kingdom and, his throne. So for, I want to say, was it 10 years, David is on the run, literally running from Saul, hiding out in caves, whatever he can do to possibly stay away. But during that time, David has his band of mighty men that stick with him through it all. Because during that 10 years, it's pretty much all bad because he's Saul's trying to kill him. So he has his core squad of individuals that stick with him no matter what is happening. And then those guys end up going on to be part of some bigger things when David actually becomes king. And that makes me think, man, just truly taking account to the things that we have in our life, just with our Bible study, with
And
the
just for
friend.
anyone that has, for context, we have a group called DBAP,
Don't say it.
DBAP, let you fill in the blanks.
Yeah,
And
that's yeah.
hey, there's there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
And it is a men's group that is very much based on being Christian men of God. When he says Bible study, which is a very lacking thing in this world right now, which is a very
yeah,
important thing that's going on, is that we need more men of God, men of character, men of resolve
men of
with a
support.
goal,
Yeah,
support
and
in
that's what's
this
cool
world.
about
And
yeah,
no, I
that's
was
what's
just
cool
going to
about
say
our
that
group.
that is that group he's referencing. It's not just a Bible study. It is a group
Yeah,
of grown men leaning on each other and trying to be men of
yeah,
God in the outer parts of their life and coming back to a center place to revisit how to do that and study the
refuel.
word and go out there and keep doing it. So
Yeah,
it's not
it's a
just a Bible
holistic group.
study.
Yeah, it's a holistic group, and
We
just the
don't do
guys
any
that
vaccines.
no vaccines, vaccine free, baby, all the way. I'm gonna go get 17 COVID shots tomorrow. I think that sounds like a good idea.
I'm gonna boost her up.
Just kidding. Never gonna do that.
Boost her up. It's like
But
a Power
yeah,
Ranger.
no, just thinking of that group reminds me of, David and his mighty men. Just you're going through the good times and the bad times, the thick and the thin, and that no matter what, we all are there for each other, no matter what it is, man. And it's just through thick and thin where we're learning, we're becoming better individuals, better just men of God, understanding what that means, what that looks like, what that looks like, especially in the future when we get married, become fathers. Um, just realizing what it means to be a man of God.
Yeah,
And that doesn't mean being a pacifist. That doesn't mean,
I'll
you know,
pass this fist across your face.
there you go. It doesn't mean being weak. It's the speak softly but carry almost a big stick in a way. To where it's
Yeah,
just like, you don't have to be passive in things. It's okay to stand up and to fight for what you believe in. And it's just a holistic slew. All that to say, I'm just thankful for the group that we have because man, if we were ever to go to war, whatever that looks like, I mean, my guys would be by my side and they'd be
and it's
by
one of those things where listen, every guy in the group isn't best friends.
I'm best friends
It's
with
not
everyone.
as no one likes Chase, but
I try
every
to say it.
it's one of those things where, like you said, if you were to have to go to war in any topic, it doesn't matter the level of your friendship. There's something deeper than that bonding you that
Yeah,
requires a hey, I'm going to be here to support you in this endeavor no matter what.
a
And hey,
step
that
up moment.
exactly, and that's the thing is like I'm not as close with everyone in that group as I'm as close as I am with you. There's some people in that group who I'm not very close with at all. But when it comes down to it, do I think that if I made the call that they would show up? 100%. It's not just based on how well we know each other. It's based on something deeper than that, something that is connecting us regardless of whether we want to be connected or not. We're choosing to maximize that. And that is, again, something that this world needs more of. Men need more of. We're actually thinking about having a
Mm.
mental health podcast here soon to talk about men's mental health because it is something we've struggled with. We've seen other people struggle with. And there needs to be, and you can put in the box in terms of whatever you think would help men's mental health. What we think would help men's mental health is more godly men and more godly men for
Mm.
other men to lean on.
Amen. Because I feel like it's an epidemic today, just with the way that
Some
society
sort
has
of demic.
shifted. Yeah, so whatever it is, but the way society has shifted so much, it's demasculating men and making men feel like they don't have an important role in society. That it doesn't matter if you're a man. Um, but even more so, taking it a step further, like you said, a man of God. What does that look like in today's time? You know, and that's going into just combat all of the absolute lies that have taken place in modern society. I mean, we need that. It is time to fight back 100%. And you said something earlier that was really, really good. So well done, pat on the back for you. Um, but it's not
Oh, I'm
about
so ready to hear this. Please tell
no,
me what I said. I
it's
I want to hear that how great I am. Please go.
no. I mean, it was good. It was simple but profound. So the aspect of if one of the guys is going through anything, It's not a matter of whether I feel like I want to help, it's choosing. I intentionally choose to help my brother. It's not,
Hmm.
I'm just
It's
not
not
feeling it
based on our
today.
connection. It's not like,
No.
oh, I'm this good of a friend with you,
Yeah.
therefore I care this much. It's no,
Or
we've
what am I getting
signed
out of
up.
it as well? What am I getting in return?
Exactly.
It's none of that.
Exactly. We
It's
have
you are
signed up to
choosing.
sacrifice for each other.
Yeah. And if that means whatever that means, like I am choosing to give up myself for this individual. And that is, I am so, so thankful for all these friendships and just relationships. Because it's, I mean, being part of this group for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, it's,
Isn't that
gosh,
crazy?
it's crazy. Time has gone so quick, but it's just been awesome having that support system to lean on, and when you feel like you're struggling or you can't take another step, your guys are standing right next to you, literally lifting you up, helping you take that next step.
And again, men inherently want that to look like actual fighting. Men inherently want
Yes.
to say, like, when we say go to battle together, we inherently want to pick up shields, a freaking spear,
I
and we
want a
want to be there.
full
Yeah,
suit
like,
of armor.
yeah, we want to be there, actually doing the physical work, but it's not always physical. For
Yeah.
men, especially, it's something that is very often emotional, it's very often mental, it's very often monetary, not in terms of like we ask each other for money, but I do need $500. Anyways,
I
but
got you, man.
all right, I need more than that. I need 1,000. I actually meant 1,000, but seeing how far we can take this. But in terms of when it comes to lifting each other up, men are naturally the pillar of most situations they're in. And listen, women are as well in a lot of situations, the pillar of a situation. But in terms of whoever the pillar is, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be your strongest. And
Mm,
there's different help that comes from men, and there's different help that comes from women. And there's specific help that comes from both, and you need both of those. And women can't provide certain help, and men can't provide certain help. A man and a woman needs both. And this group has been able to provide us at least with the help that we need from other men.
yeah. Well, and it goes back to the Valley Creek Men's Night that we went to about a month ago ish.
Valley Creek is the church that we go to in Flower Mound, Texas.
I have
Amazing.
I have someone I'll give a quick shout out that is going to call me out for talking about personal stuff on the podcast. I was called out for saying where I live. Now I'm going to get called out for saying where I go to church.
I just said that. Dang it. It's not in Flower Mound, Texas.
Uh,
It's not even in
Maine.
Texas.
It's in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Trust
that
me,
was
if you're going to come there to do some nonsense, like 1 out of every 3 people is armed in that church. So it wouldn't be the church that I would mess with.
yeah.
But go on.
But the men's night that we had a couple weeks ago, the challenge that we got from our pastor was what it looks like to not only be a man of God, but what does that look like to lead? And I mean, just the way he laid all of it out, that men need to step up, to not be afraid to lead, because that is our designated designed role by God, given by God to do. And we've lost sight of that commission. Not we, but I think a lot of individuals in the world,
You.
guys, have lost. Yeah, no,
I'm just kidding.
have lost sight of that. But at the same time, like, it's one of those things that we knew, but at the same time, hearing the way it was presented, I mean, I don't know about you, but it rocked my world. I was, I was kind of gut punched with, okay, wow, that was super, super impactful and was a mega challenge for me to really hone in and to press in to that challenge as to what that looks like to lead, not only for yourself, with friends, with, you know, family, but also what does that look like to lead a future family, lead your future wife, lead your kids, you know, like to be that spiritual leader requires you to lead in the first place.
Yeah.
And I just, oh man, it hit me really hard. So I've been I've thought a lot about that, and I think it's very impactful. And I mean, just all around the challenge, the commission per se, is very evident.
Hmm.
It's something that I am intentionally trying to implement in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it is a. I was gonna say that in terms of leading, there might be people listening to this that are like, I don't, that's so stupid. Men and women lead. You might disagree with everything we're saying. That's fine. But when someone's driving a car, there can't be two drivers. There has to be a driver and a person sitting up front who's the co-pilot. Both of them are vital to making sure that car gets to where it's going safely. The co-pilot is going to spot things that the driver can't see. The driver is going to understand where it's going. But no matter what, there needs to be a leader. And not that women can't lead, but men are naturally equipped and called to lead. God provides you the path with how to lead. You can
Mm,
lead someone the wrong way,
yeah.
100%. But leading and being a leader is the point regardless. Now, if you're intentionally leading someone the wrong way, that's a conversation you need to have with yourself and that you need to probably get straightened out. But anyone that finds himself in a position of leadership is usually going to look for some type of moral compass to guide them through that. And God, Jesus Christ, who died for your sins and loves you, is a really great moral compass to lead by.
Yeah.
And this world needs a lot more of it. But we are natural leaders. We need to be out there leading in every situation that we're in. And if you're not a natural leader, support someone who does lead.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think inside every man is that natural born leader. You just have to be around guys that will help you find it.
Yeah, take that back. You're not a natural born leader. Everyone is. You just need to be around people that bring it out of you. Put that on a
And
t-shirt and freaking sell it.
just like low T.
Wow. That was went from
Uh,
emotional and impactful to dirty and throwing rocks in a glass house.
but an awesome marketing campaign for the future.
You think I should keep these headphones in terms of because I
What do you
can't
mean?
find
Keep
my
'em?
other ones. Well, I mean, I use them for work, but I mean, they don't look bad on the podcast.
No, I don't think so. Did you lose your mic?
The mic is right there. I forgot
You
to
have
get
it
it
set up?
tonight.
Okay. I mean,
No,
it's
it's not.
audio sounds pretty decent. So
Huh. I completely forgot about the mic,
we'll just
but I
go through a
always use them.
formal, yeah, we'll go through a formal review of our podcast as we're recording the podcast. How do you think our hardware's working? Do you think it's good? Should we buy some new ones? Is our mic
Do we
coming
need new
across okay?
software or hardware or mediumware? I don't know. Whichever one you
Or
think.
malware?
I'll
But
malware you.
whoa. But yeah, I mean that's I think that would be a so far everything we've talked about tonight would be a good segue to lead into next week of doing a men's mental health episode. Just kind of
Yeah, we got
diving
some
in.
things on our side we want to potentially straighten out before we do this actual episode, so we're gonna figure that out. And I don't want to talk about any of the details right now because I don't want to set an expectation without it being a reality. And in case you know what I'm saying. But
I do. I do.
we're just teasing you guys. We're talking
Um,
about things you don't even know, and we know them.
just
But
like we teased our Thoughtify swag last week, we're still trying to
did
get
that
that,
not get delivered yet?
working on it.
So we're not gonna say any names. We're not even gonna. We're not. You know what? We
We
thought
don't
we were
have
gonna
to.
get something at one point, and we didn't. And it doesn't matter. It's gonna come to regardless. And we love working with the person who we're working with. They're a good person.
Yep. It will be good, but we've teased plenty on this podcast. That is yet to come. So
We've what?
we've teased one or two things on this podcast that have yet to become a thing. So it's not like it's anything new. We're just keeping our listeners so engaged and anticipated for what's to come. It's so exciting.
When in doubt, just lie about everything.
Yeah, that's really good policy. That's a leader right there.
I'm leading in a direction. Okay, I'm kidding. Don't lie about anything, please.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably a good natural wrapping point for
Yep. I agree.
the hot potty. And Guys, I really appreciate you. I hope some of the stuff we said resonated. If you disagree with it, hey, we invite that. Please, vocalize it. Or if you agree with it, please support it and, give your opinion. Any interaction, we're extremely thankful for. This is all grassroots, so help us to grow that grass and make sure the neighbors are jealous.
And make sure
Chase,
not
I'll
only
pass it to
growing
you
the
for a
grass,
goodbye.
yes, not only growing the grass, but we have to establish the roots deep down first before the grass can grow. So
Hey,
help us
hey,
do that.
please, please, we're begging. Anyways, love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on 25.
Sounds good. See you guys.